This is the science of storytelling. Today we started a new skill that is storytelling. I am very amateur for telling a sentence or tell a story of something, my product, my business, my document, my journey, whatever it is. I use many of the filler words. My mind is not recognize the words I want to speak, etc. The flow and the tonality. Moreover, a lot of problems occurs. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you must regularly working on the storytelling. You're never going to be perfect about storytelling, but it is the basic and even the most important skill in the field of entrepreneurs you want to learn. So I take this book, The Science of Storytelling, will store, and I think so it will help me to understanding the science, how storytellers impress people and convince them for buying our services, and even it is also helped me for sales. Because in entrepreneur journey, sales are also the one of the most important skill you want to learn. Will Store, award-winning writer. I skipped some of the pages. The science of storytelling. Introduction. Where does the story begin? Moment of change, curiosity build. Change is not enough. A lot of topics. Oh my God. Chapter 2, Chapter 3, the dramatic questions, how to build a dramatic questions, plots, ending and meaning, where you build up plots in your story, scared flu approach, a lot of words it happens. I want to know about introduction. So let's begin. Introduction. We know how this ends. You are going to die. And I also focused about my tonicity. Sometimes I use my words just like in the flow. No uppercase, no lowercase, just repeat words like we know how this ends, you are going to die, and so will everyone you love, and then there will be heat and death. I am out of the breath in the middle of the sentence and never feel a value, and never emphasize the questions. I will fix it. My vocabulary is not good also. I got stuck in middle of these sentences and etc. Moreover, many of the problems I have, but that's okay. What matters? This is a skill and I want to learn, and I believe I'm not going to be expert, but it really happens to me. I am become more capable for maintaining a business, and I want to become an entrepreneur. So this is an important skill, and the top first priority list. I take this. This is the first priority list. Actually, not first. It is a second. The first in my priority list, the first point and the first work is manifestation. You believe yourself that you want to become an entrepreneur, a businessman, a gangster, even whatever it is, just manifest yourself. And then second, you done your basically most important skill. It is not about your work. It is not about my agency structures, businesses, business leads, sales. No. Your self development is your priority. Then in the second part, in the second phase, you put your work, your physical work. Because at the starting point of view, you do all the work itself. But when you succeed, you divide these works from different people, different employees, etc., whoever you hire. So self development is your first priority. Let's start with the introduction. We know how this ends. You are going to die. So will everyone you love, and then there will be a heat death. All the change in the universe will cease. The stars will die, and there will be nothing left of anything. But infinite death, freezing void, human life, it is all its noise and hurries will be rendered meaningless for eternity. Yeah, it is a meaningless for eternity because nobody want to live a lifetime or even ending of the earth. But that's not how we live our life. Human life, we are a unique possession of knowledge. Humans might be a unique possession of the knowledge, and that I also work for my tone, how I voice. Like Not professional. A professional uses or speaks or a throat and a stomach, not from a voice of like this. When I read the sentences, my voice is coming from this, not my chest and stomach. So I want to fix it. And also my body, I am looking so. Let's back to a topic. This is not a main topic. But that's not how. At starting phase, everybody looks like this. They are not looking so cute, smart, perfect, physically fit. Everybody has a problem, just like some are very skinny, very fatty, and very disabled or even out of strength. A lot of this. But when you succeed, all the problems are erased itself. But that's not how we live our lives. Humans might be in a unique position of knowledge that our existence is essentially meaningless. But we carry on as an ignorance of it. We whittle away happily into our minutes, hours, and days. With the fact of the void hovering over us, it took directly into it and responded with an entirely rational descent into despair is to be diagnosed with a mental health condition. Category as somehow faulty. The cure for a horror story, our brain distracts us from the terrible truth by finding our lives with hopeful goals. That's not interesting. Reading a book, it doesn't mean to read a book as like a story, a novel. Just find your important thing. We experience our day-to-day life in story mode. Yeah, look at this. We experience our day-to-day life in story mode. The brain creates a world for us, live in a populated with allies and villains. We turn the chaos and bleakness of reality into a simple, hopeful tale, and at the center it plays its star wonderful, precious me. So it sets on a series of goals that become the plot of our lives. Story is what brain does. It is a story processor. Writes the psychologist professor Jonathan Haidt. Not a logical processor, logical processor, logic processor. Story emerged from human mind and naturally as breath emerged from between human lips. You don't have to be a genius to master it. You're already doing it. Becoming better at telling stories is simply a matter of peering inwards and the mind itself and asking how it does it. Yeah, story emerged from a human mind. Everything story emerged in a human mind. Everything that is doing all over around us, around yourself, that's reality. I think so. Whatever I'm doing in my life or even your life, everything is a story. And I'm at 15 years old, I'm going to college, an incident, uh, farewell, and even whatever happens in my school, my childhood, I ride a cycle, my first dream, and my first ambition, and even at a small age, like it's like 12, 13 years, I saw a Spider-Man and I saw Dr. Octopus, where they research on the DNA and convert the DNA, etc. Then the first dream that is come in my mind, it is about how it possible when you change the DNA, just like I change the human DNA and insert the DNA of bird and the eagle, just like of wings, like a face structure change, nails. These crazy. This is a story, but we are not well educated enough to tell a story in a proper functional way. Just like you breathe the air from your lips, from your mouth, or from your nose, without without voluntary involuntary, I don't know meaning of voluntary involuntary, something word, without control it. When you talk, it is okay when you hold it. But if you are not focused on your breath, it automatically go in and out. According to this, it is directly do without your environment, as like as your storytelling or your story, human brain are emerged. That's how crazy it is. I think so. Storytelling is the basic and even one of the important factor. This book has an unusual genesis, is that it based on a storytelling course. That is, in turn, based on research I have been carried out for various books. My interest is in the science of storytelling began about a decade ago. Yeah. When I was working on my second book, The Heretics, which was an investigation into the psychology of belief, I wanted to find out how intelligent people end up believing crazy things. The answer I found was that if we are psychologically healthy, our brain makes us feel as if we are moral heroes at the center of the unfolding plots of our lives. Any facts which come across tend to be subordinate to the story. In fact, flatter our heroic sense of ourselves, we are likely to periodically accept them. No matter how smart we think are, if they don't, our mind will tend to find some crazy craft way of rejecting them. The Heretic was my first introduction of the idea of the brain as a storyteller. It only changed the way I saw myself, it changed the way I saw the world. It also changed the way I thought about my writing. As I researching the heretics, it also happened to me working on my first novel. Yeah, have you ever noticed why billionaires, millionaires, or even successful people, self-made billionaires or self-made successful people, having so crazy to learn to think about it? Suppose they think a business model are crazy things and they end up being crazy and definitely they achieve. So what's going on? Why we can't do this type of mentality? Okay, your brain is a storyteller. Yeah, your brain is a storyteller, and if you develop your storytelling ability, you convince any peoples. And the word mentioned is the psychology of belief. If you are psychological health, the two words, the psychology of belief and the psychological health. The physical and mental health are okay, fine. The psychological health is the basic and even the most important factor you ever notice in the entrepreneurs. They are psychologically very, very healthy. If they believe it, if they truly believe in something that it happens, that it really happens. It doesn't take any extra efforts. Suppose I really believe I was want to successful building an agency, making a millions, and then extend it from different type of businesses. If I believe and my psychological health is very well uh, developed, then it really happens. And at the end, I believe it really happens, so it really happens. It doesn't matter if someone helps me or not. I made it happen. I know it takes a hard work, dedication, time, patience, but at the end, all of this work on. This is about psychological health. Yeah. If you being an entrepreneur, if you choose a way to become an entrepreneur, the hardest way. But the journey are always be the very, very beautiful instead of destination. So the journey of becoming an entrepreneur is very beautiful. If you pick this up, don't get back. That's the lesson I give you. Don't get back. Just continue. How hard it is doesn't matter. Just continue. You become learn a lot of things, a lot of crazy things you do in the journey. And destination are always final. If you want to achieve, then you achieve. It takes years, months, or even 10 years. Doesn't matter. You achieve. At the end, you thanks yourself that I never quit. With the heretics, I also happened to be working on my first novel, having struggled with fiction of years. I would finally buckled and thought a selection of traditional how-to guide reading through them. I noticed something odd. Some of the things the story theorist was saying about narrative were strikingly similar to what the psychologists and neuroscientists. It not look so nice. It the author tell about the storytelling, how they do, what are the books they write. Okay, my hope is that what follows will be interest to anyone curious about the science of the human condition. What follows will be interest to anyone curious about the science of human condition, even if they have a little practical interest in storytelling, but it also for the storytellers, the challenge any of us faces is that of grabbing and keeping the attention of other people's brains. I'm convinced we can all become better at what we do by finding out a bit how they work. That's the crazy shit. Basic challenge we face is how we get an attention. And the only rule just to improve it, you find out how it works. I know storytelling made people feel more secure, more knowledgeable, more intelligent. Even if you tell a story, they are convinced yours by yourself and they are impressed also. But the twist is if you don't know how it works, it is worthless. This skill doesn't mean for you. You learn a skill, you master it, and if you don't know how it works, how you do the same recipe is not working in all kitchens. Every kitchen has a different recipe. And if you continue the same recipe day by day, day by day, day by day, you are just over exhausted for eating the same dish without a problem, without the extra salt, or extra spicy. A different recipe has a different taste. Sometimes it is so extra spicy, extra salty, even less spicy. Sometimes it is overcooked, and this gives the taste. If you do the same recipe again and again and again, you are exhausted and you say, "Oh, fine, I don't like it." It is all about storytelling. If you master the storytelling and you do rules according to the rules, you do a same storytelling technique for everywhere. You in the market, in the public speaking, in the meetings, you're never going to succeed. The basic rule is you want to know how it works. At that time, if you want to know how it works, how it affects your brain, your customer brain, or even your audience brain, you win the race. That's the book say. The challenge of us faces is that of grabbing and keeping the attention of the people brains, and I am convinced we can all become better at what we do. You become better at what we do, but what? I am convinced we can all become better at what we do by finding out a bit about how they work. If I finding out how it works, I instantly becoming better more than I learn these rules, storytelling techniques, etc. This is page 04. Tomorrow I will continue from this. This is an approach, a traditional methods, attempt of decoding story. Tomorrow we are working on the traditional methods, traditional attempts. And I recorded this video because I want to share something. If I learn a skill, people are the problem of people's having how I read a book. I read so many books and now I read learning a new skill that is storytelling. The main motive of recording a video and tell people it is more over very easy to read a book and learn a story, learn a skill. I am stuck where I used my sentences. Let's tomorrow we meet again. Have a nice day, everybody.